Aboard the liner bearing her name, Britain's Queen Mother Elizabeth arrives in New York. Her greeting is all but drowned out by the noisy clatter of still cameramen.
I'm delighted to find myself once again in the United States and among its kind and friendly people. But ever since our very happy visit here in 1939, I'd always hoped that one day I might come back and stay a little longer in your great country.
During her 3-week visit to the United States and Canada, the Queen Mother is to be the White House guest of President and Mrs. Eisenhower. First stop is the Canadian Club in New York to unveil a painting of her daughter, Queen Elizabeth. 15 years after she visited America as Queen, she returns the proud Queen Mother of Britain's radiant young ruler. After 72 years, British occupation troops quit SUEZ under terms of a treaty negotiated by Colonel NASSER, Egypt's strongman. The evacuation of the 75,000 troops agreed to by the British will be completed in June 1956, a personal triumph for Colonel NASSER. Jubilant Cairo crowds swarm before the government building to hail NASSER, although later he narrowly escapes assassination by the fanatic Muslim Brotherhood. Meanwhile, the first troops march out of the canal zone, boarding landing barges for transports, and Egypt at last is her own master. Striking the Tokyo Stock Exchange at midnight, hundreds of swaying, chanting workers jam the street in the heart of Japan's financial center. Daylight swells the sea of strikers demanding a 60% pay increase. Management counters with a lockout order banning the pickets from entering the building. When police are called out to clear the street, the demonstration erupts into violence. Some are trampled underfoot in the melee. Others are arrested and hustled off by the harried police as temper sends socks flying outside the Tokyo Stock Exchange.
Arriving in Washington for talks on Germany's new sovereignty is Chancellor Konrad Adenauer. He's greeted by Secretary of State Dulles, who calls him one of the truly great men of our times. Adenauer expresses deepest gratitude to America for helping achieve West Germany's freedom. Next day, the Chancellor confers with President Eisenhower at the White House. The road to a strong and united Europe, both leaders declare, is paved by the new agreements linking Germany with free nations. Two seriously handicapped young people receive in New York the first awards given for valor and achievement by the disabled. Advertising executive Bruce Barton presents a statuette to teenager Dorothy Donnelly for acting in a film about rehabilitating the handicapped. Joseph Mastrovito, 6, a paralysis victim, gets one too. Tiny tributes to the courage of the physically handicapped. William O'Dwyer, who started out as a brick carrier and became mayor of New York, returns to the big town as a visitor. Signs welcome the city's former first citizen, now a resident of Mexico, back to see the sidewalks of New York. Miss America returns to her home, San Francisco, where she receives her cape made of 1,600 orchids. A band salutes 19-year-old Lee Ann Merriweather, and photographers are everywhere as the city hails its loveliest daughter back in the old hometown. In slashing spray and pounding surf, the Australian Army puts amphibious vehicles called ducks through maneuvers to test them for flood rescue work. Windshield wipers are less than useless, and anyway, the crew is more interested in staying right side up than in seeing where they're going. Despite terrific pounding, the sturdy ducks stay dry inside, proving they can be used for transporting relief supplies or carrying human beings to safety when floods menace Australia.
With the game only a minute old, humans
McElhenney ignites the explosive fury of the San Francisco 49ers, breaking clear against the Detroit Lions and galloping 60 yards for a touchdown. 60,000 San Francisco fans whoop it up as the Lions, defending champions, see their attack stutter. Bobby Lane's pass is deflected and grabbed by Joe Arenas, who shows the 49ers have championship ambitions of their own. Quarterback Tittle, a cast covering his broken left hand, hits John Henry Johnson in the flat. Weaving and faking his way downfield, the San Francisco Star picks up 35 yards. Jaron John Henry carries again and slashes the remaining 12 yards for the score. The hometown crowd is on its feet as McElhenney, running the Detroit defenders dizzy, eats up another 43 yards before a host of Lions manages to pin him down. Triggering San Francisco's brilliant attack, the gritty Tittle winds up for a TD toss as the 49ers cage the Lions 37-31. This is to report that chickens, previously limited to supplying eggs and drumsticks, have caught up with the human race, adopting that trait of all civilized people, going around in circles. Ramon Arenas, who lives in La Ola, a Spanish hamlet, has trained his chickens to respond to a horn rhapsody or even a flick of the fingers. The chickens feel that while they keep jumping, they won't jump into a frying pan. And any jump a chicken jumps, a rooster jumps higher. And here is Mr. Arenas' rooster, followed by our own.